Hello, everyone, and good evening. Welcome to the Linglobe channel. This time, we'll be bringing you content about preserving the world's languages for the future. Please enjoy it to the end.
Welcome to Linglobe Voice. So imagine a population of uh, just about 5,000 people.
Right.
Now imagine them completely surrounded by 230 million people. 230 million people whose culture, whose religion, and language are just entirely different from their own.
It's a massive contrast.
Exactly. I mean, mathematically speaking, those 5,000 people should just vanish into the larger population in what, a single generation?
Yeah, easily.
But today, we are unpacking the Linglobe materials to look at a group that has totally defied that mathematical gravity for centuries. And that is the Kalash people of Pakistan.
Because, assimilation is really the default setting of human history.
Right.
When a micro community meets a macro culture, the smaller group gets absorbed. It's just the normal gravitational pull of civilization.
Yeah, the bigger group always wins.
Yeah. Exactly. But what we're seeing in these materials isn't some passive history lesson about a vanished society that you just read about in a textbook. It's an active daily masterclass in human resilience, geography, and cultural defense.
And it's happening right now, today, up in the towering peaks of the Hindu Kush. And just looking at the overarching theme of this slide deck, it is so clear we're dealing with something incredibly rare here.
Absolutely.
Slide 1, the hidden world of the Hindu Kush.
Yeah.
So this first slide really sets the visual tone. We're talking about history as this breathing, adapting entity that's actively fighting to survive.
Yeah.
I look at this and I don't see, a culture preserved behind museum glass. I see a rare species that has managed to survive in an extreme habitat where absolutely nothing else can. It's a daily battle.
It really is, because to resist that default setting of assimilation over centuries, it requires immense intentional effort. I mean, it never just happens by accident.
Right. You don't just accidentally avoid being absorbed by 200 million people.
No, not at all. You have to actively build walls, both physical and cultural, to keep the outside world from washing over you. And for the Kalash, the environment itself provided the ultimate foundation for those walls.
Which makes sense because you cannot maintain that level of isolation on a flat, open plain. You need serious physical boundaries to keep the outside forces at bay.
Exactly.
Slide 2. The fortress valleys and the materials outline 3 specific valleys acting as those boundaries. We've got Bumbaret, Rumbar, and Birir, which are located in the Chitral district of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Pakistan.
Right.
We are talking about literally impassable winters and incredibly dangerous steep terrain. It's almost like the geography itself is acting as a natural bouncer for their culture.
That's a great way to put it. It functions as a literal cultural fortress. In more accessible regions, travel and trade are easy, which means ideas, languages, and bloodlines blend rapidly.
Yeah, people mix.
Right. But the Hindu Kush mountains physically filter out that external societal blending. The sheer physical difficulty of reaching these valleys meant that for centuries, the Kalash were left entirely to themselves to develop and maintain their distinct identity.
So the mountains provide the walls. But, walls don't mean much if the population inside them is too small to sustain itself.
True.
Slide 3. The micro-community in this slide just stops you in your tracks. You have the surrounding Pakistani population of roughly 230 million people. And then you have the indigenous Kalash population.
Which is tiny.
Between 4,000 and 5,000 individuals. I just can't wrap my head around that math. It's like a single drop of distinct dye refusing to mix into an ocean.
It really defies logic.
Right. If mathematical gravity says they should be swallowed up by those 230 million people, what is the actual day-to-day glue keeping them together?
Well, the sheer statistical improbability of their survival forces us to look at their internal mechanisms. When you have 5,000 people surrounded by an ocean of others, you need way more than just mountains.
Yeah.
You need an incredibly rigid, cohesive social structure that binds everyone together, ensuring that no one wants to leave and that the community acts as a single organism.
Wow. And I imagine that cohesiveness is put to the absolute ultimate test when the weather turns and they are completely trapped together.
Oh, absolutely.
Slide 4. The rhythm of the mountains. So the materials highlight the Kalmos festival in the winter and the Uchal festival for the harvest.
Yeah.
It notes that their ancient polytheism survives here because it's deeply pragmatic.
Right. It serves a real purpose.
Yeah. They have this intricate group dancing around fires, and it looks beautiful, but if you look closer, it kind of feels like a survival drill wrapped up in a celebration.
That's spot on, because when the snow completely blocks the mountain passes, the psychological toll of that isolation is incredibly heavy.
I can't even imagine.
Right. Imagine your front door being buried in snow for months, and your only social network is literally the people trapped in the valley with you. Tensions are inevitably bound to rise.
Oh, definitely. Cabin fever on a massive scale.
Exactly. So the Kalmos Festival forces the community to come together when they are physically and mentally at their most vulnerable.
So the group dancing isn't just for entertainment. It's literally training individuals to move in physical harmony, to act as one cohesive unit.
Yes.
If you can dance together in the dead of winter, you can share scarce resources without tearing each other apart.
Exactly. It builds trust.
Slide 5. Echoes of the ancient world. And being locked in together by extreme geography doesn't just preserve the peace, right? It preserves the past. Look at their linguistic lineage here.
It's fascinating.
It goes Indo-European to Indo-Iranian, then Dardic, the Chitral group, and finally to their native tongue, Kalash. But I'm going to need a quick breakdown of those language families, though. Like, what exactly is the Chitral group?
Sure. So Dardic languages are a specific subgroup of Indo-Iranian languages spoken in the really highly mountainous regions of Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India.
Okay.
The Chitral group is an even more localized branch of that, spoken almost exclusively in these specific valleys. And because they lacked external trade hubs, Kalash maintains direct vocabulary and grammatical ties to ancient Greek and Sanskrit.
Wait, really? Ancient Greek?
Yeah, it's remarkably preserved.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Language usually evolves through friction with outsiders, like stones polishing each other in a river. You adopt a word from a neighboring tribe, they adopt your slang. But because the extreme geography walled them off, their language was kept in a perfectly still pool.
That's a beautiful analogy. But of course, no pool stays perfectly still forever.
Right.
Slide 6. The tongue of the valleys today, Kalash is spoken daily by all 5,000 community members, but the external pressure is definitely mounting.
Yeah, the materials say they're being forced into bilingualism now. They have to learn Urdu and Kaur in schools, and for official situations just to interface with the broader Pakistani state.
Exactly. The friction they successfully avoided for centuries is finally reaching them through pure economic necessity.
Because you have to make a living.
Right. If you want a government service, or if you want to trade goods beyond your specific valley, you simply must speak the dominant regional languages. This constant economic friction puts enormous strain on the native tongue.
So it means their ancient language is no longer the only tool they need to survive.
Correct.
And losing that language would be a massive blow, just because of how uniquely it's actually built.
Oh, absolutely. The structure itself is totally unique.
Slide 7, the architecture of thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, the slide outlines the architecture of thought. Kalash features an agglutinative structure.
Yeah.
Looking at the notes, that basically means instead of separate words, it uses a root word that snaps together with multiple morphemes for tense, person, or number. I know a morpheme is like a tiny phonetic building block of meaning, but this really just sounds like a massive linguistic Lego system.
It is very much like Legos.
I'm looking at the examples, and honestly, it just looks like a massive run-on word. How does building sentences like this actually change how these people perceive reality, say, compared to an English speaker?
Well, it totally changes the sequence of how you process the world. In an agglutinative language, you are building a highly specific, very dense package of meaning before you even finish the concept.
Interesting.
And then combine that with their SOV syntax, that's subject, object, verb. So instead of the English, I eat the apple, the Kalash speaker constructs the thought as, I the apple eat.
Okay, so you have to establish the entities involved before you reveal the action connecting them. You build the environment in your mind first and then animate it.
Yes, exactly.
It creates a highly organized, relational way of viewing the world. If you lose the language, you lose that entire cognitive architecture.
Just a profound loss for human diversity.
Slide 8. Forging an anchor.
Right.
Which is exactly why they are forging a new anchor. For centuries, this was an exclusively oral tradition. Folklore passed purely through voice.
Right.
But if an oral tradition stops being spoken, you are literally one generation away from losing it entirely. So the materials show they are making this monumental transition to a standardized, Latin-based, Romanized script.
Yeah, it's a huge shift.
They even created a publication called the Kalash Times. But my question is, why choose the Latin alphabet when the surrounding Pakistani culture uses Arabic scripts for Urdu?
It's incredibly strategic. Choosing the Latin alphabet over the regional Arabic script is a brilliant defensive mechanism. By doing so, the Kalash create a literal visual boundary on the page. Yeah. When a young person looks at the Kalash Times, it immediately looks distinct from the surrounding national media. They're asserting their separation visually as well as audibly, ensuring their culture doesn't just blend into the background noise of the state.
That is so smart. That intentionality to stand out, it extends to how they structure their entire year, too.
Yes, their calendar is very deliberate.
Slide 9. The rhythm of the Hindu Kush. The heartbeat of communal life is dictated by 3 great festivals. You have Joshi in the spring, which is for renewal, and the end of the winter isolation.
A huge relief, I'm sure.
Right. Then you have Uchav for the harvest and the safe return of livestock, and Kalmos for the winter solstice. It's fascinating how their spiritual life maps perfectly onto their agricultural vulnerabilities.
It really does. A religion that demands communal gathering precisely at the moments of highest ecological anxiety, thawing mountains, dwindling winter supplies, the return of the flocks from dangerous high-altitude pastures, is a religion perfectly adapted to its environment.
Yeah.
The sacred and the practical are completely intertwined.
So the seasonal thaw and the livestock returns aren't just symbolic holidays. They're quite literally life or death moments for the entire valley.
Exactly.
Slide 10. The architecture of identity. And you see that intertwined identity in what they wear, too. The garments are basically iconic visual fortresses. The materials highlight the shushat, this intricately woven headpiece.
It's stunning work.
Yeah, and you have traditional deep black wool robes overlaid with hyper-bright geometric embroidery. But wait, I'm looking at the details on the shushat here. It's adorned with cowrie shells.
Yes.
Cowrie shells are marine snails.
Yeah.
How on earth did seashells end up on traditional clothing in a remote, landlocked, high-altitude fortress in the Hindu Kush?
Isn't that amazing? That is the fascinating footprint of ancient trade routes, like the Silk Road. Long before they were completely isolated, those shells traded hands across continents from the Indian Ocean, acting as ancient currency and high-status symbols.
No way.
Yeah. Incorporating them into the headdress wasn't just decorative. It was a display of wealth and worldly connection, literally frozen in time.
So they took these highly prized, imported items and just locked them into their permanent cultural uniform.
Exactly.
And the black wool acts to starkly amplify the vibrant geometric patterns worn above it. In an increasingly multilingual environment, clothing serves as an immediate, unspoken assertion of identity.
It's a visual language of its own.
Slide 11. The sacred cycle. And everything loops back to their environment. This next slide illustrates a divine symbiosis with nature. You have mountain agriculture cultivating grains on these unforgiving, steeply terraced terrains.
Which is backbreaking work.
Right, and that links directly to animal husbandry, rearing goats for sustenance, but also for ritual wealth. And all of it relies on their geographic isolation. It's like a delicate, self-sustaining terrarium, perfectly balanced, but entirely dependent on remaining completely undisturbed.
That terrarium analogy is perfect. Every element relies on the other. You cannot perform the necessary religious rituals without the goats. You can't feed the goats without the mountain terraces. And you can't maintain the terraces without the isolation that keeps the community focused inward. If you crack the glass of that terrarium, the whole ecosystem is threatened.
Yeah, and you even see how tight that ecosystem is when you look at how they build their homes.
The architecture is incredible.
Slide 12. Carved into the cliffs. Their wooden architecture is built to literally defy gravity. They use vertical integration, stacking houses directly into the steep hillsides.
Because land is so precious.
Exactly. They have to do this to save every single inch of critically scarce flat land for farming. Looking at the photos and the materials, the flat roof of a lower house literally serves as the social veranda of the upper house.
Yeah, gravity itself forces social connectivity here. You cannot be isolated from your neighbor when your front porch is literally their living room ceiling.
Wow, that's so true.
The architecture inherently enforces the communal bond they rely on for survival. Add to that the intricate ancestral carvings deeply etched into the wooden pillars, and every home becomes a living, breathing museum of Kalash heritage.
So you are constantly walking on, sleeping under, and surrounded by your community and your ancestors.
Exactly. You're never alone.
Slide 13. Echoes of play. And even childhood is a masterclass in this survival. It is a childhood completely untethered from screens. The materials mentioned, they play Tash, which is a tactical game using raw stones or sticks from the valley to build dexterity and mathematical intuition.
It's brilliant.
And their macro playground is the towering forests of the Hindu Kush. Just think about how playing hide-and-seek in a dense vertical mountain forest rewires a child's brain compared to, say, a child playing on a flat, manicured playground.
Oh, completely. By playing in that vertical, rugged terrain, they are forging an early, fearless bond with a very dangerous natural environment.
Yeah.
They're literally training themselves to master the exact environment they need to survive in. By the time they're adults, the steep terrain isn't an obstacle, it's just a natural extension of their living room.
But it's not a perfect utopia, right? You have tightly knit villages crammed into isolated valleys. Tensions have to boil over eventually.
Oh, for sure. Human nature still applies.
Slide 14. The Crucible of the Valleys, which brings us here. The materials explain that inter-village rivalries are actually settled through honorable combat during festival seasons.
Right.
They play polo in the open valley plains, which looks like a chaotic, high-speed chess match on horseback. And they do wrestling in the dusty village squares, focusing on raw, kinetic strength and leverage.
It's very intense, but channeling that tension into controlled, highly ritualized conflict like polo and wrestling prevents actual destructive warfare.
Oh, that makes sense.
It satisfies the human need to display a fierce warrior heritage while ultimately forging stronger unity between rival villages. They blow off steam in a structured way, ensuring they can stand strong together against outside forces.
And those outside forces are stronger right now than they have ever been.
Yes, the pressure is unprecedented.
Slide 15. The converging storm, the isolated fortress, is now navigating the cross-currents of the 21st century. Tourism brings vital income, but it risks turning sacred rituals into public spectacles.
It's a double-edged sword.
Definitely. Modernization brings formal education and roads, offering new lifelines. But the materials note this introduces intense religious and social pressures from the Islamized communities surrounding the valleys.
Right.
Plus, shifting weather patterns from climate change directly threaten their delicate agriculture and cliff-carved homes. This is the ultimate paradox to me. The very things that offer them a modern lifeline, roads and tourism, are the exact things eroding the fortress walls that kept them safe.
It is, and we really have to view this impartially as a profound sociological pressure cooker.
Yeah.
When a micro-community of 5,000 is finally connected by roads to a macro-culture of 230 million with vastly different, deeply held religious and social tenets, the pressure to conform is just a natural, immense force.
It's just gravity.
Exactly. It is a factual reality of human geography colliding with modernization. The lifelines are eroding the isolation that originally saved them.
So if the geographic shield is falling, they have to find a new one.
And they are.
Slide 16. The shield of recognition. The cultural landscape of the Kalash Valleys has been elevated to Pakistan's UNESCO World Heritage Tentative List.
This is a huge development.
It represents an international mechanism to protect their language, their polytheistic practices, and their architecture. But what does tentative mean in this context? Like, is it just a waiting room, or does it actually offer tangible protection?
Well, being on the tentative list is the critical first step toward full World Heritage status, and it carries significant weight. It forces a level of domestic and international visibility.
Okay, so people are watching.
Yes. It legally and culturally signals to developers and policymakers that this area has global significance. They realize that geographic isolation can no longer be their primary defense. So they're actively substituting their fading mountain walls with global legal protection.
Wow.
It is a modern shield against modern homogenization.
Which perfectly sets up the conclusion of the Linglobe materials.
It really does.
Slide 17. The Unextinguished Flame. A living ancient culture, defiant and enduring. Surrounded by towering peaks in an ever-changing world, this vulnerable population of just 4,000 to 5,000 individuals continues to speak an ancient tongue, dance to ancestral rhythms, and wear the vibrant colors of their history.
It's remarkable.
It really fills you with a sense of sheer awe, seeing these individuals actively keeping their flame alive get such immense external pressures.
It really does. When you look at the entirety of what we've explored today, you realize it isn't just about stubbornness.
Right.
Their gravity-defying architecture, their agglutinative language, their tactical childhood play, their intertwining of agricultural and spiritual festivals, these are all interlocking pieces of a magnificent, deliberate survival strategy.
Yeah, it's totally by design.
They are proving that history doesn't have to be something we only read about. It can be something a community wakes up and chooses to live every single day.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching until the end. We will continue to bring you many more languages from around the world. Please subscribe to our channel. See you next time on the Linglobe channel.